All right. What's up, guys? There's a new Ziggy D video. I heard that. I got a message about it. We got to watch it, right? Let's actually close this so we don't have any sound in the background. Let's watch it, guys. I mean, we need anything, man.
G'day folks, Ziggy D here with...
Alright, we gotta watch this, guys, right? This is all that we have. JB Merlin, thanks so much for the subs, guys. How we doing? There's a part 2 coming. Yeah, we need to eat what we can. All right, I guess let's no wind up. Let's just get right into this.
With a hands-on preview for the Druid. We'll take a look at the shape-shifting forms, Druid spells, and how the new class plays overall in the early campaign. I got a chance to record this when I went to the studio to host the Q&A, thanks to Grinding Gear Games for covering my flights to do so. Keep in mind that as this was recorded more than a week from launch, it's non-final, and stuff can, and already has, changed from what you'll see here. The new Druid archetype is flavoured by the combination of elemental and nature magic combined with shapeshifting into various beast forms. It does the rare and challenging action RPG task of giving us the potential to play a hybrid of spells and attacks. The human form is where your spellcasting happens, and your beast forms are where your melee happens.
Not natural, this. Air's gone sour.
When you start on the beach, this is brought home when you immediately find a staff with lightning bolt to begin spellcasting. However, that is quickly followed by looting the new melee weapon type, a talisman. Talismans function just like any other melee weapon in terms of where your damage comes from. They scale just like a mace would, for example, with increased physical damage and attack speed. But unique to talismans, they...
Okay, so on the very first talisman that you get, you can't turn into a wyvern. Is that what it's showing us? Bear or werewolf?
Give you the ability to select a shapeshift form using this UI element. Werewolf and bear form is what you have initially, with Wyvern unlocking a little bit later on. This choice doesn't lock you into a form, but rather it just grants you the basic attack of the chosen form. Whenever you use one of these talisman attacks or any other shapeshift ability, you'll automatically shapeshift into that form. The basic abilities of each form are fairly straightforward, with the potential for a little bit more complexity as you go and unlock other pieces that they can combo with. The Bear's Maul grants rage on hit, while the Werewolf's form, for example, creates exploding chunks of ice on attacking frozen enemies. So they're designed to support or reward the other shapeshift skills that you unlock later on.
Feels familiar somehow.
Each of the three forms also comes with passive effects and mechanics. The version I played was likely non-final in this regard, but for example, Bear had defensive boosts and generated endurance charges when rage was consumed, while the Werewolf gets a sizable out-of-combat movement speed buff, which you can see in its movement as it drops to all fours. You quickly also get your first actual gem on the beach here, Volcano.
By primal will.
This is a spell that causes an explosion and spits fire projectiles for a long duration. There's a running theme with a lot of the Druid spells that they provide some sort of ongoing benefit and that they often synergize with things that you can do while shapeshifted. This is all to support that idea of hybrid spells and melee shapeshifting, because after all, if it was something a little bit more limited, like a fireball for example, then you have to make a clear decision between whether you use a fireball or one of the shapeshifted attacks. In this case, you can
recommend my current monitor.
They'll continue to do stuff while you're shapeshifted. Perfect.
I would recommend my current one. Decadent, mellow. Thank you so much for the subs.
More on Volcano later. For now though, we can fight the Miller with Volcanoes and follow up with lightning strikes from the staff if we choose, or with our chosen shapeshift forms melee, which is obviously what I go for.
Still breathing? That's a start. Sleep now, whatever's left of ye.
The first uncut gem expands your options with the Entangle spell, Lunar Assault for Wolf, and Furious Slam for Bear. I'll test all of them as we go, don't worry, but I decided to kick off with focusing on the Bear's Slam combination first. The Bear's basic attack Maul generates Rage on hit, and Furious Slam spends Rage to empower itself with a more powerful explosion that leaves behind jagged ground. The fact that you're spending Rage also means that this constantly maintains endurance charges due to the Bear's passive bonus. Rage has been simplified across the game, with Rage spenders now more consistently costing 10 Rage, and a new visual effect shows in your character to indicate that you have at least 10 Rage, making you glow, even in shapeshifted forms too. So this means that whenever you're glowing, you know that you can use a Rage spender. I find the Devourer first up, so we get the first test of our metal a little bit early.
Aye, this reeks of the Devourer's lair.
And here we get to see a bit of the potential power of the Bear Styles combos.
You'll not harm another soul.
So volcanoes spit fire globs at an even pace, but slamming them causes an extra set of projectiles to fire. So placing volcanoes on bosses and bear slamming them while generating and spending rage is a simple and chunky feeling combo, and it makes pretty short work of the Devourer here.
Looks pretty strong. Just right out the gate.
You've gorged on the good folk of Clairfell long enough.
With the first support gem, I grabbed Fist of War.
You haven't seen any big content creators cover this topic. A lot of people are asking for campaign skips after completing it once. You would love to hear my thoughts on it. So, so here's the thing. I'll give you my thoughts on it. I am for topics like that, and for topics like XP penalties in games. I don't think game designers necessarily need to adopt what I think you should do. But I'll be honest with you, man. I'm not really a big fan of the campaign skip. I understand why people want it, because they don't have a lot of time to play. I understand why people don't like doing the campaign every time that they want to make a new character. I get it. But my opinion would be, if people don't like doing your campaign, aka playing the game, then it means that you made a bad campaign. Another thing about it is, if you make a second character, people are not very good at, or people don't pay attention to twink gear, like that lets you level super fast, just murder everything. You can spend just a few chaos orbs at the auction house to make your next campaign run just a breeze. So, I don't know. I get why people want to skip campaign, but I personally like it. I think it's good for the game that you have to do it, if I'm being honest. If they decided to come up with some new system to skip the campaign, okay, like I'd try it and I'd probably be fine with it. It's whatever. It's not like this isn't the most important topic to me, but if they made us do the campaign for the rest of our lives, that doesn't bother me at all. Taking my vitamins here.
to empower the Furious Slam, which plays very smoothly. It's perfect pairing with this, as you naturally tend to space out the slams anyway as you move around or as you generate rage with Maul. So the double empowered slams that you get from Rage and Fist of War also are very satisfying, so pretty happy with that as a first support gem choice for this playstyle. There was some other interesting options there though, such as Overabundance and Burgeon for Volcano. So Overabundance lets you have a max of 2 volcanoes out instead of 1.
Sorry, let me go back. I want to hear what Ziggy said.
So volcanoes spit fire globs at an even pace, but slamming them causes an extra set of projectiles to fire. So placing volcanoes on bosses and bear slamming them while generating and spending rage is a simple and chunky feeling combo. And it makes pretty short work of the Devourer here.
Captain Honor Seeker just gifted 10. He's going straight to heaven. Mr. Honor Seeker, instead of gifting 10 subs, you should have bought a plushie, buddy. Thank you so much for the... Then you'd actually get something for it. Thank you, Honor Seeker. Love you, buddy.
With the first support gem, I grabbed Fist of War to empower the Furious Slam, which plays very smoothly. It's perfect pairing with this,
Thank you, Nick,
as you naturally tend to space out the slams anyway as you move around or as you generate rage with Maul. So the double empowered slams that you get from Rage and Fist of War also are very satisfying, so pretty happy with that as a first support gem choice for this playstyle. There was some other interesting options there though, such as Overabundance and Burgeon for Volcano.
Let me go back 10 seconds. I wanted to hear what he said there. Sorry.
With the first support gem, I grabbed Fist of War to empower the Furious Slam, which plays very smoothly. It's perfect pairing with this, as you naturally tend to space out the slams anyway as you move around or as you generate rage with Maul. So the double empowered slams that you get from Rage and Fist of War also are very satisfying, so pretty happy with that as a first support gem choice for this playstyle.
His first talisman
there was some other interesting options there though, such
skills.
as Overabundance and Burgeon for Volcano. So Overabundance lets you have a max of 2 volcanoes out instead of 1 at the cost of 50% less duration, which I think is a pretty good idea in many cases. Brings them down to something like 4 seconds maybe, but I think that's a very good trade-off because you can slam multiple of them down really fast, get a lot more burst on bosses, and have your slams triggering 2 volcanoes at once. So I run into my first of the League's Val encounters around here. These are just simple sacrifice platforms, basically kill monster in circle. Thankfully, they aren't even too strict about you needing to be in the circle. You just kill monster from the circle. So this video is primarily about the Druid. I'm not really going to be focusing too much on the League mechanic here, but I will touch on my very limited experience with it. The basic premise is kill monsters from 6 circles, and then you go raid a ruined temple for loot and a bunch of crafting options to improve your gear as you level. It's fairly unobtrusive as you play through, and then you get the chance to spend a little bit more time in the actual temple to do some gear crafting. That felt pretty powerful. For now though, I get a chance to pick up the Wolf skill, Lunar Assault, and the plant spell Entangle, so I'll test those out in the near future. Entangle first. It places a fissure that grabs nearby enemies to deal rapid small hits of physical spell damage while slowing the entangled foes. Skills like this are always really good for utility, like Oil Grenade, for example. Slowing enemies is really effective on Crossbow. I anticipate Entangle
Drag,
might
thank you so much
feel
for the
similar
Prime,
here as a
man.
utility spell. And similar to Volcano, it's got that duration lasting benefit design, so it kind of means that regardless of your actual leveling setup, your build, you can throw in some Entangles for some extra damage and slowing. I'm immediately pretty impressed with the feeling of bear form for blasting bosses here. Double empowered Volcano Slams is very rewarding. And the hybrid gameplay option on Druid means that if you need to kind of back off for a little while, you're taking a bit too much damage, your flasks are getting run down, you can give yourself some distance and throw down some Volcanoes, Entangles, and later on other spells while you're recovering. I'll take the opportunity before we test some wolf form here to comment on the overall feeling of shapeshifting, and it is, thankfully, seamless. GGG have done a really good job here of leveraging the weapon swap system, especially after they kind of changed it to not have delays and things like that. And they've done it in a way that requires zero thought on the player's behalf, which I think is really important. We've dumped a bunch of new players on the Druid here, and then you had to like teach them a bunch of complicated weapon swap mechanics and set up for the UI. It would be a real problem, but you don't actually have to think about it or do anything initially to use it in its simple form. So spells just naturally swap you to human form and your staff or wand so that you can use them, right? Because they don't necessarily work otherwise, and the shapeshift abilities need the talisman, so they automatically swap to that and thus swap you into your form. There's no real delays here, and it just feels smooth and seamless, even swapping between multiple forms. And the gameplay feels pretty fast too, because that was the thing from the preview that people were concerned about. Especially in Wolf form, it feels very fast. The initial reveal, it did a good thing of like focusing on clear, low damage, low movement examples of mechanics so that you could understand what was going on, but it didn't actually show what it kind of felt or looked like to play the Druid, and it made it look honestly a bit slow and clunky.
So much blood spilled here, the earth still bleeds.
The biggest thing that I noticed playing it though, that almost right away in Act 1, it was much faster and smoother than I would have thought from the footage, and that's because you're actually using things like dodge roll and sprint to reposition between attacks. And you obviously have a lot more damage than what they use in those previews. And now onto the Red Veil Zone, I decided to test the early game Werewolf style a bit more. Lunar Assault is a large slash melee skill that has a very high freeze rate and cold conversion. And that can be paired with the Ice Bite support to give you a big bonus cold damage buff that's up pretty much all the time with this skill, as it freezes so easily on regular mobs and even fairly easily on most bosses. As a quick aside, I can confirm that you can be knocked down while sprinting in animal form, and I can confirm that it's just as hilarious as it normally is. Though this only happened like 2 or 3 times in the entirety of my playtime. I'm not sure if I'm just getting better at using it, or if the shapeshift forms are naturally more resistant to heavy stuns maybe. Either way, it only happened a few times. Anyway, the Werewolf doesn't have any immediate synergy with the Volcano stuff, but...
Resistant to heavy stuns. I thought that while sprinting, if you get hit at all, it just trips you. I thought it's like a hit that hits you, just trips you. Unless he's saying like you can actually dodge it. Rami Thief, thank you so much for the subs, guys.
There's no reason to not just use them anyway. Like, you slap them down and then go into melee and tear them apart and you're getting the bonus damage, right? And it's all scaling kind of just as well as each other at this point in the game. The early combination for Wolf is using the Shred attack on enemies frozen by Lunar Assault. Shred's that basic attack for the Werewolf. It's a rapid combination strike with the final hit in 5, I believe, hitting twice. Each hit from Shred on a frozen target chips off a chunk of ice, which then explodes after a decently long delay. The typical approach for rares and bosses is to use Lunar Assault a couple times to freeze them, followed by 1 to 2 full combinations of Shred, with the icicles exploding for some pretty wild burst damage at times, especially on any sort of larger bosses. The icicles do fly backwards behind the target, but on bosses, most of them tend to hit, especially those bigger ones. There's a lot more you can do with the icicles later on, and more combo pieces for the Wolf form. It's only just this kind of basic bit here, but it feels fast and satisfying, and that freeze potency is very high right off the bat. So it's a pretty good early game for the Werewolf, I felt. Honestly, for the first half of Act 1, I would say both Werewolf and Bear felt like very valid approaches with support from the spells. I don't know that I would go pure spells unless you maybe worked in something from one of the other elemental trees as well. There's no reason you can't mix and match those if you're using a staff anyway. Volcano and Entangle are like fairly good on their own, but you want something else on top of that as like a burst skill. Obviously you can use the basic staff skills, those are okay, but you could use a 3rd gem maybe to pick up a spell from the elemental tree to round it out with a bit more immediate damage if you're going for more of a pure spellcaster, for example. Since those pure druid skills are pitched at being kind of like ongoing effects that keep going as you're doing something else, so you want something else to do. So after Red Veil, the next tier of gems gives access to Shockwave Totem, Rolling Magma for the Wyvern form, it's actually a Wyvern skill, and Pounce for Wolf, and Wing Blast for Wyvern as well. So Wyvern gets 2 here because it's kind of first introduced at this point. You also like unlock the ability to swap to it on your talisman at this point, even if you've got the original talisman, I believe. I suspect maybe it's based on character level. That would make sense. So this expands your build options in quite a few ways, about 4 different directions right away. There's a lot of lines of play on the Druid here, even right at the early game. So you can Totem with Bear form for jagged ground eruptions, for example. Rolling Magma plus Volcano as a combo there for fire-focused Wyvern. The Magmas trigger the volcanoes. You can incorporate Pounce into Wolf form, which gives a bunch of benefits. And you can also grab Wing Blast for like a lightning-focused melee Wyvern with its default attack. Since at this point I was really enjoying the Wolf form, I grabbed Pounce, and this is possibly the best all-rounded skill in the entire Druid category. It's a skill of all time, I'll tell ya. Big fan. It's a great movement skill that leaps gaps and obstacles. which is enough to use it just by itself, but it also slams and hits a large area of effects, which can be boosted with Fist of War.
It's just Werewolf.
It marks a target on hit, and it automatically marks the highest
I was already
target,
planning to start Werewolf.
You can link your own mark later on, or you can just use the built-in Predator's mark, which is honestly quite good on this skill. It gives the target increased damage taken. Great. It's based on the number of enemies of your enemy that it has nearby, if that makes sense. So, okay, yeah, if you and your minions are standing next to it, it takes more damage. And it also summons a wolf companion each time you trigger the mark on kill. There's other ways to trigger it later on. So it provides its own minions to trigger Predator's marks effect anyway. So this skill does everything. Crazy. Obviously, it's a must-have in wolf form, but I used it in every single build I tested on Druid. I think if you're using a talisman in your build, you're probably going to want to use this skill. A leap initiator, mark on hit is really good for any melee playstyle, and it's good to just have unless you have like another movement skill that you really want to use instead. I can see using it. It's important here, I think, that I drive home just how you aren't locked to a form as well. Like, you may know that, but it's easy to just not really think about it. Your talisman choice is only the selection for which basic attack you have. It doesn't lock you into a form. You don't choose a form like most games like this. It's only important what you choose on your talisman if you actually plan to do some sort of combo with it, and I don't think every build will necessarily use the basic attack. Some of them will because they have some pretty powerful combo effects. But for example, the Bear Forms one just generated Rage, and there's other ways to do that. Rage support gem on another skill, for example, so I can absolutely see not using the Bear's basic attack for too long. And you'd only use the Werewolf one if you were planning on doing some sort of like icicle-based build, right? So you're absolutely free to leap in as a wolf and then proceed to bear slam everything, for example. And it took me a while to really fully take that in and incorporate that into my gameplay. I still catch myself thinking of each shapeshift form as this like own separate thing, even though I know it's not. But try and like remind yourself to take Druid a bit more holistically, right? It's if there's like a skill or passive bonus from one of the forms that you want to enable some combo or synergy with your build, then use it. Nothing stops you, right? The devs have given some guided and more obviously spelled out combos within each particular like shapeshift form or archetype. Like for example, Bear's Maul generating rage and then Slam consuming it, right? Like these are pre-packaged items that we're given as obvious starting points, but there's plenty of room for cross synergies between forms and potentially even other weapon types too. Like I don't see why you couldn't like generate rage on a bear and then consume it in Wyvern form for the big flame breath or something. Or even alternate between bear slams and human form mace slams. I'm sure there's a build there. So wolf form, which already felt really good with its high movement speed and attack speed, definitely got faster and more furious with pounce. Overall, this playstyle is a fairly straightforward melee attacker with some room for some pretty good skill expression, I think, in how well you position and freeze and then swap to shred enemies so that you kind of choose which direction the icicles fly off. I think if you are pretty good at it, you can perform, you know, get a little bit of extra juice out of it. But if you just want to Lunar Assault, freeze everything and just kill them with that, like a freeze cleave build, then you absolutely can, I think. It's not as high single target right away as the full bear form combo, unless you get like really nice shotgunning off the icicles on a large boss, for example. But freeze locks down many bosses, and I felt like I was just dismantling any bigger targets, you know. It's like by the time they go to do their first real attack, you freeze them and then they're nearly dead. So a lot of the fights were just kind of over before they began. I did dip my toes into the Wyvern form next to mess around with some of their skills a bit off and on. I played with Rolling Magma and Volcano as a kind of ranged Wyvern. Magma Orb bounces also trigger Volcano's projectile pulse, so it's pretty difficult, I think, to position and take full advantage of, especially if like the enemies are running at you, for example. Something like Entangle can slow enemies down to help with that, so you can throw down some Entangles and Volcanoes and then shoot out some Magma Orbs to do some of that. But it's definitely a more difficult playstyle than what the other ones that I've covered so far offer you at this stage in the early game. This was a bit of a running theme for me with Wyvern in my play session. It's a more complicated form with some very powerful, specific elements, but less straightforward lines of play and synergies overall. It's also the one that's probably seeing the most changes from what I played to when it launches. I already know some changes that I'll mention as we go. I will come back to Wyvern a bit more later, because I had my first little temple foray after my 6th Vaal sacrifice here.
This is exactly what I guessed would happen from looking at like some of the gameplay and how they described it. It looks like even if you want to play Wyvern, the best way to do it is to level up as either a bear or a werewolf to get through it quickly and then switch when you have some actual gear.
This has gone to ruin.
Power blankets this altar.
So the League is introduced to you with a just very simple initial design. You place some basic rooms. It almost doesn't matter where you put these first ones. Later on, where you place them upgrades, but it highlights and makes it super easy to no-brain it if you want. And then you just run that small temple to clear the rooms you placed, leaving whenever you want. You don't have like a specific objective here. You can clear the rooms and you'll get like a...
Why am I not pausing every 10 seconds to say I agree? Math, thank you for the prime. Well, there's a famous rule in content creation where you want to make everything somehow about you, right? If I want to be an effective content creator, everything that happens, every video, I need your brain to be rewired to have it be about me. So if there's a new showcase, I need to convert it into what is Rax's opinion of the showcase to change what you're thinking. Here's the thing. I don't care about that whole meta. I don't care about how much I grow. I want the people who want to be here and hang out with me just to want to be here naturally, and I just want to be myself. My personality, when someone's presenting something, is to shut my mouth and to listen and pay attention and only make a comment if, after I've gathered my thoughts. So if you ever want to be a streamer, don't do what I'm doing. You're going to want to pause and interject yourself as much as possible in order to lock people in.
Leave a portal to send you out of there once you're done with all of the rooms. But basically, you're just going in there for the actual specific rewards of each room. And that is like a bunch of chests and weapon racks and things that drop gear, or a bunch of crafting benches that do things like improve quality, add sockets, let you alch, or a bunch of crafting benches. There's like a bunch of chests and weapon racks and things that drop gear, or a bunch of craft.
Okay, so it just gives you a free regal if you have a magic item. So okay. Usually the smartest thing you can do in any playthrough is skip the mechanic. Skip the Alva temples, get through the campaign, and then you now you do the mechanic in the end game, right? So if you do this as one example in the first room or whatever, it gives you a regal. I mean, that's decent. You take one of your magic items that you're wearing, you throw it in there, and you put one modifier on it. I mean, that's okay, but it would probably be better just to probably skip the mechanic. I don't even know what the floss dance is. I don't want to know what that is. I'm going to make that hopefully today, Gray. I'm going to make that placeholder build.
Benches that do things like improve quality, add sockets, let you alch, reroll a magic item, which is really good while leveling, regal a magic item, exalt a magic rare item, and so on. So just doing like one or two of these quick little temple forays each act will give you a pretty decent chunk of gear improvement. I think I did one per act. You get a really good amount of items to craft too, but I recommend hanging on to any like specific bases you want to upgrade as you go into one of these. So for example, your next weapon base that you need to craft, you don't have to use crafting currency, you can just go into the temple and make it. Or maybe you like need movement speed boots, so keep a nice pair of boots in your inventory to potentially craft movement speed on. That's how I ended up getting some of my movement speed boots. I've never had so much like socketed and quality gear while leveling in Path of Exile 2 as I have with this temple. So after my quick 5-minute temple gearing session, I quickly returned to the cemetery to absolutely embarrass Draven and Wolf form. And then I do much the same on Lachlan too, which is often a decent difficulty spike for a lot of builds.
So his gap closer ultimate, or not ultimate, opener hit him for a 1/7 of his health or something?
I do much the same on Lachlan too, which is often a decent difficulty spike for a lot of builds.
And the icicles will explode eventually. Yeah, it just seems like you play a werewolf for sure in the campaign.
Hunting grounds. Best be careful shapeshifting, lest I take an arrow to the ass.
The other set of Wyvern starter abilities is melee with Wing Blast and Wyvern's default attack Rend. So
do I have any gear build recommendations for controller? I've never played Path of Exile on the controller. I would imagine like the minion build that I will post from just an update from my last league. If you want to play that build will probably rule on controller because it's very simple.
Wing Blast is a bit like Spear's disengage skill. It's a backwards leap that can get you out of harm's way and do some other utility things. But in this case, it also is a large AoE that stuns primed for stun enemies and triggers an extra explosion for some nice kind of like AoE clear on those stunned enemies. It also generates charges on stunning enemies, power charges with a surpassing chance, it's called. You can scale it past 100% for more charges, potentially, for example. That's how that works. And one change that GGG has already told me about here with the Wyvern is that this skill has been buffed a bit by granting 3 charges now on stunning unique enemies, which is good because I felt like it was difficult to actually use the power charge stuff in boss fights, but having 3 charges means you can get like 15 seconds plus of empowered attacks or something. You can like chain it through the rest of the boss fight. So I could see you kind of just getting 1 stun and then that carrying you through the rest of the boss fight as you expend all of your charges. So that does sound like a nice improvement. So the Rend basic attacks can spend a power charge if you aren't currently buffed to give you a buff with empowered lightning attacks. It gives that skill a much bigger AoE and adds lightning damage. It does a few other things with a few other skills too. It actually turns it from like a very basic little melee attack into like a pretty hefty, big cleaving skill that does quite a lot of damage. Empowered Rend, it is slow, but it is big and chunky and really satisfying, and I'm really hoping that there's some potential for like melee Rend builds that maintain empowerment with that, because it felt really good when I was cleaving my way through packs with it. Wyvern's early game was definitely the hardest to get the hang of all of the kind of types here, at least when you try to stay purely in Wyvern form, because again, I was cleaving my way through packs with it. Rend builds that maintain empowerment with that, because it felt really good when I was cleaving my way through packs with it. Wyvern's early game was definitely the hardest to get the hang of all of the kind of types here, at least when you try to stay purely in Wyvern form, because again, just like you can just use something like Wing Blast alone for a melee escape skill and then like play your bear build, right? There's no reason you have to kind of like force yourself to stay in any one form if like overall it doesn't feel like it's paying off for you. Still kind of wrapping my head around that. I did also kind of take Wyvern through one of the most difficult areas in the early game here, but once I got through there, the first Spirit Gem gave me options of Savage Fury, which is basically a Druid-like Berserk buff that drains your health for a short boost to speed and damage. It looks very strong for bossing, and it's probably not too hard to manage that life loss as long as you got like a flask charge or something. Probably well worth it, and I expect we'll see some use. Anything that boosts your damage and speed for a duration is usually a popular choice. I didn't get to chest it in this run though, as Spirit Gems are pretty hard to get hold of in the campaign, and I instead went for Briar Patch. So this buff stores
What does this mean?
some melee
Thorny
physical damage
ground.
that you deal to enemies to automatically place a Thorny Ground when you next cast a spell. So if you put a volcano down, it'll be surrounded by Thorny Ground, or if you cast like a lightning strike or something, it'll be Thorny Ground as well. It's got a built-in delay, but it's super easy to charge up with just like a single pounce on enemies, for example. It's pretty low impact overall, though I was thinking that there's probably some good utility supports that can go on there later, especially for plant druid styles. Between Thorny Ground, Volcano, Entangle, and Totem at this point, we have a lot of persistent effects we can dump out before engaging in melee, And they all scale fine together at this point in the game, right? Like, so there's no real reason to just not go ham and use everything. It's just like throw everything in the kitchen sink at the boss and then go in and bear slam them. You know, you got time often while most bosses are doing some sort of monologue to like pre-place like 4 entangles, 2 volcanoes, a totem, and automatically place down the other thorny ground. So you're absolutely going to go that route. The other notable spirit gem choice that I passed up earlier was Herald of Ice, and
that thorny ground seems like completely useless in the beginning of the game, unless I'm stupid. It seems completely useless. Do we know if you have extra spirit, can you invest them into the werewolf pack? Like, what would we spend our spirit on? Or maybe can we do Herald of Agony or Herald of Ass or something?
Wasn't able to get my hands on one for the rest of the 3-act session, which is something I wanted to note because it's a bit of a shame because I played it and loved a lot of the wolf form, but I never really felt like I got the full picture of what it plays like to clear as an ice wolf, because it feels pretty good, but it was missing a bit of AoE clear. That's the thing it probably struggled with the most. And not having Herald of Ice was like obviously the missing piece of that puzzle. So just keep that in mind as you watch that wolf gameplay in the future. And just mentally add some of your own ice explosions to that gameplay, just to kind of imagine how your werewolf leveling might go. It's already really satisfying, like doing the icicle explosions and freezing things and watching them shatter. I can only imagine with Herald of Ice how satisfying that's going to be. If I go wolf, I'll definitely grab Herald of Ice. For bear, I'd probably grab that Savage Fury. And Briar Patch if I level like a nature style druid, maybe, I don't know. Activating it with pounce, maybe. I think that's more of a specific build thing. It's nice, but definitely not as impactful as other spirit gem choices. Late Act 1, you start to get your first weapon set passives, and unlike leveling other characters, I think you really want to start taking advantage of these right away if you're going spells and shapeshift combo. Which I absolutely think you should, it's super fun. So it's pretty simple initially to start doing this. If you've never messed with the weapon set trees, it only really gets confusing when you try to do respecking typically. That's when you kind of got to wrap your head around just how it works. But initially you can basically just kind of like throw any duration or clearly spell-oriented clusters on the staff weapon set, and any shapeshift or survivability nodes or melee damage stuff on the talisman set. I spent and tinkered with these a lot as I went, and it felt like a pretty nice payoff for it. There's like quite a lot of it going on that you can cherry pick between in the druid area of the tree. It makes sense. I think passive tree support is like super important for this sort of like hybrid playstyle. And it's good that that kicks into gear pretty early on if you want it. For Executioner, I decided to revisit the Bear Slams since they performed pretty well early on. I was keen to see how they were holding up at this point. I had the Totem now to add in, and that triggers the Jagged Ground from the Empowered Slams to create another explosion for some more bonus combo damage.
You have much to answer for. The hand that held the rope lies still.
And yeah, their form is pretty amazing on bosses, and overall pretty well rounded. Felt like the most well rounded of them, like powerful single target, decent AoE clear, maybe a little bit slower, offset by just switching into wolf form, and nice defenses too. It's pretty nice. And you know, you can just use that pounce to form shift into wolf and start sprinting when you move between packs. There's no reason why bear has to feel slow when you can instantly shapeshift into a wolf whenever you want. I was really vibing the hybrid wolf bear and human spells. It feels like you get to cherry pick the best parts of every part of these kind of 3 forms and just add them together to create a super build. Feels like cheating a little bit. Adding rage and rapid attacks to maul makes it really quick to generate rage for slams as well, with 3 mauls giving you enough for like 2 slams back to back. And when you start double and triple volcano slamming bosses, oh yeah, so good. Poor Candlemass and indeed poor Geonor. Guy really got outclassed on this whole shape-shifting trope even after selling his soul for it, right? So anyway, I don't know if you can hear in the background, but I have a newborn baby and our family's all sick right now. So I'll end part 1 of this preview here and optimistically hope to be able to get part 2 out before launch if I can. I'll try. Forgive me in advance if it's a bit later or if I can't make it. At times like this, I think it's best to just celebrate the small wins. Like, you know, making a part 1 preview and getting it published. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed it. Satisfying. Like, I think you really want to start taking advantage of these right away. Late Act 1, you start to get your first weapon set passives, and unlike leveling up the characters, I think you really want to start taking advantage of these right away if you're going spells and shapeshift combo, which I absolutely think you should. It's super fun. So it's pretty simple initially to start doing this. If you've never messed with the weapon set trees, it only really gets confusing when you try to do respecking typically. That's when you kind of got to wrap your head around just how it works. But initially you can basically just kind of like throw any duration or clearly spell-oriented clusters on the staff weapon set, and any shapeshift or survivability nodes or melee damage stuff on the talisman set. I spent and tinkered with these a lot as I went, and it felt like a pretty nice payoff for it. There's like quite a lot of it going on that you can cherry pick between in the Druid area of the tree. It makes sense. I think passive tree support is like super important for this sort of like hybrid playstyle, and it's good that that kicks into gear pretty early on if you want it. For Executioner, I decided to revisit the Bear Slams since they performed pretty well early on. I was keen to see how they were holding up at this point. I had the Totem now to add in, and that triggers the Jagged Ground from the Empowered Slams to create another explosion for some more bonus combo damage.
You have much to answer for. The hand that held the rope lies still.
And yeah, their form is pretty amazing on bosses. And overall pretty well-rounded. Felt like the most well-rounded of them. Like,
yeah,
powerful
man.
single target, decent AoE clear. Maybe a little bit slower, offset by just switching into wolf form. And nice defenses too. It's pretty nice. And you know, you can just use that pounce to form shift into wolf and start sprinting when you move between packs. There's no reason why bear has to feel slow when you can instantly shapeshift into a wolf whenever you want. I was really vibing the hybrid wolf bear and human spells. It feels like you get to cherry pick the best parts of every part of these kind of 3 forms and just add them together to create a super build. Feels like cheating a little bit. Adding rage and rapid attacks to maul makes it really quick to generate rage for slams as well, with 3 mauls giving you enough for like 2 slams back to back. And when you start double and triple volcano slamming bosses, oh yeah, so good. Poor Candlemass and indeed poor Geonor. Guy really got outclassed on this whole shape-shifting trope, even after selling his soul for it, right? So anyway, I don't know if you can hear in the background, but I have a newborn baby and our family's all sick right now. So I'll end part 1 of this preview here and optimistically hope to be able to get part 2 out before launch if I can. I'll try. Forgive me in advance if it's a bit later or if I can't make it. At times like this, I think it's best to just celebrate the small wins. Like, you know, making a part 1 preview and getting it published. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope that it helps a few of you see a bit more of the Druids potentially, you know, the fun that has to offer you if you're a bit unsure based on that initial reveal. I feel like Druid's getting a little bit of a raw deal in the reactions, so maybe do my part just to give you a little bit more of a realistic impression as to what it looks like. Anyway, folks, that's it for now. I'm Ziggy D, and thanks for watching.
Whatever's left of ye.
The first 2. So this means that whenever you're glowing, you know that you can use a Rage Spender. I find the Devourer first up, so we get the first test of our metal a little bit early.
Aye, this reeks of the Devourer's lair.
And here we get to see a bit of the potential power of the bear styles combos.
You'll not harm another soul.
So volcanoes spit fire globs at an even pace, but slamming them causes an extra set of projectiles to fire. So placing volcanoes on bosses and bear slamming them while generating and spending rage is a simple and chunky feeling combo, and it makes pretty short work of the Devourer here.
You've gorged on the good folk of Clairfell long enough.
With the first support gem, I grabbed Fist of War to empower the Furious Slam, which plays very smoothly. It's perfect pairing with this, as you naturally tend to space out the slams anyway as you move around or as you generate rage with Maul. So the double empowered slams that you get from Rage and Fist of War also very satisfying, so pretty happy with that as a first support gem choice for this playstyle. There was some other interesting options there though.
So, I mean, does this even work though? Godly, thank you so much for the sub. Does this even work? So on Volcano, you cast the Volcano. Let me go back. Can we go back to see where he cuts a gem? Because does Volcano have the channeling tag?
Abomination!
Still breathing? That's a start. Sleep now, whatever's left of ye.
The first uncut gem expands your options with the Entangle spell, Lunar Assault for Wolf, and Furious Slam for Bear. I'll test all of them as we go, don't worry, but I decided to kick off with focusing on the Bear's Slam combination first. The Bear's basic attack Maul.
Please mouse over Volcano. He shows Volcano earlier, the first time he picks it up. All right.
Not natural, this. Air's gone sour.
When you start on the beach, this is brought home when you immediately find a staff with Lightning Bolt to begin spellcasting. However, that is quickly followed by looting the new melee weapon type, a Talisman. Talismans function just like any other melee weapon in terms of where your damage comes from. They scale just like a mace would, for example, with increased physical damage and attack speed. But unique to Talismans, they give you the ability to select a shapeshift form using this UI element. Werewolf and Bear
POE2 DB has the skills. All right, let's see. POE2 DB, that would be way better.
Thanks to Atmos Seekers for my sub gift.
Venom, thank you so much for the sub, man. Oh, this is so much better.
Another exciting month. Ty as always for the guides.
Sonaklav, thank you, buddy. Frosty just dropped a video. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, with this info, if the skills are here, then we should be able to figure something out here. So this mark doesn't seem very important for bosses unless they have ads. Oops. Okay. So I hate the jump back. The idea is here is to detonate the ice. The Lunar Blessing buff gives you 52% of damage gained as cold damage and calls down moonbeams, where every second hits enemies for 149% of your attack damage. Is this just... Wait. Isn't this insane? Where's the music? Good question. You wanted to play Poison Pathfinder, but now you can't because Fubgun made a video about it. You can play Fubgun builds as long as you farm 500 divines every hour. Every piece of gear for that build will be 500 divines, though. Frosty has a new video. Oh no, dude. All right. So we have a new Frosty video. Oh God. Well, all right. I'll watch it on stream. It's gonna probably demonetize my stream, but whatever. Bad news for Diablo 4. Oh no. Oh no. I really haven't been playing Diablo 4 for almost the better part of a year. I think I will log in and try it in December. I will probably do a journey where I play for a couple of days and I push my character as far as I can. And
how does Frosty find these clips, man?
Try.
Is he always here?
I can't wait to log in December and get my ass kicked on level 1 until I get my skill points to do my capstone dungeon.
Wait, is this even, did I even say that?
Anyone who's interested in the new season, our blog and patch notes are live. The patch notes are 1,000
Why is it all about me?
Quite long as well, so you've got a lot to read and catch up on over the next little bit.
Frankly, the patch notes scare me.
Welcome back, you Diablo 4 super fans.
God damn it,
now,
dude.
This video may be the saddest video I've ever made, because for the first time ever, I'm finding it hard to defend this amazing game. Even though it was me who stood up against those who thought finding hundreds of Lilith statues was a really stupid idea. Or that this horse that got stuck on a blade of grass maybe wasn't the best fit for Diablo 4. And who could forget all those amazing powers? All the things that I love about this perfect game have changed entirely, or vanished completely. Yes, I mean you, Gauntlet, but this latest campfire chat? Guys, come on. You even got Rob upset.
All right. Let's go over what we just learned in the Diablo 4 campfire. I'm really going to try to not dwell on the negative here. But we got some information toward the end, which is essentially just like a sucker punch to the gut. I don't know. Let's just get into it. So, masterworking, we're finally changing masterworking tempering. Better than the old version, very deterministic, kind of not really a whole lot of room for, I don't know, imagination there, which is what I talked about in the interview, but it's what we have. Same problem with tempering, better than nothing, but at least the system has the opportunity to do
Am I the only one making Diablo 4
the season journey,
videos?
you progress now by completing the capstones. I thought removing them was a huge mistake, and I don't know why they did that. It's kind of like doing the lab in POE1 or Trial of Suck My Ass in POE2. It is 2 skill points and a treasure chest better than actually ascending? No. They dramatically buffed the Kurast Undercity. As we all know, Diablo 4 just rains down loot for you in general, so buffing things is not literally the way to go. There's a couple of things here that I think
this is just my patch
really
note video.
Take the wind out of the sails here. Are Chaos Armor's coming back? I think their answer was they said everyone liked it, so the answer is no.
Chaos Armor, people loved Chaos Armor. Everyone did. Players, devs, everyone loved Chaos Armor. And the Chaos perks as well. They really enabled a lot of interesting... Yeah, Chaos Armor was chaos for sure.
That's
and
cool.
yeah, definitely meant to be a flash in the pan and not something you'd have to, tune around for seasons and seasons.
I mean, it's kind of very interesting that Frosty goes back here, like... Hey guys, everyone really liked this mechanic in your season. Any plans to add it permanently to your game? Yeah, we heard everyone loved it. And no, we're not adding it. I mean, I don't know. You can't even make this shit up.
Where did I shit?
Then they moved the date to Thursday instead of Tuesday. And
Here comes the
a
sad
direct
music.
question was asked, why did that happen? And they just essentially said, we just are.
Why the 2-day delay? Is every next season going to start Thursday instead of the standard Tuesday?
Thank you.
We'll let you know when the next season comes out, but for this season, we're just starting on a Thursday. It's going to be 8:30 p.m. when it starts to roll out. So stay tuned for that.
Not
It'll
only-
be different for us. We'll be up a little bit later, but the nice thing is across the world, it'll be hitting at different times, so maybe it's a nicer time for
8:30
someone in different part of the world. So there you go.
On the
I'm
11th?
gonna be
That's
up
like the 12th.
Way too late.
It's not a nicer time for anyone. It's a worse time for everybody. Is that really all they're saying on that?
In the weeds.
So now it's 8:30 p.m. Pacific time on December 11th, if I heard that right, which is like, I don't know, like 12 hours or something before POE2.
Maybe they're just building anticipation. If it's a nothing burger, then they are fucked. Then the D4 bad.
So again, in the mindset of trying not to be negative and trying to be objective here, I guess we don't sleep and we play 10 hours of D4, beat the whole season, and then go POE2, I guess.
If this is all for nothing and starting at the most inconvenient start time ever for everyone in the world, then season 11 is dead. Immediately dead on arrival.
And here essentially was the punch to the gut. They announced, if I heard it correctly, the tower is not releasing with the season.
What is a nice way of saying dick sucking?
Tower PR this all sounds will not be launching with the season of Divine Intervention.
This sounds very bad. Like I didn't really expect to get disappointed by this live stream. Like I didn't even think it was on the table that they're not gonna release the leaderboard and the tower. So guys, it's confirmed. The season is delayed by 2 days, and there is no new endgame and no leaderboards coming this year. It's all next year.
Rob wants to talk to me. Should I call Rob? Do you guys want to talk? He wants to talk to me about the situation. Should we call Rob? You guys want to talk to Rob? All right.
Welcome to Rax's Secret Podcast.
Jesus Christ, Frosty.
He asks all the hard-hitting questions.
I do hate sprinkles. Tell me how you're feeling, Mr. Diablo 4.
Dude, so for me, I went into this dev stream. I didn't even think it was a possibility to get less excited for the season. But I kind of am now. Like, this is just the same mistake that they did with the Gauntlet.
A new challenge arrives later in Season of Construct. Oh, it's not. I see. So we're not.
Fuck, I love Riker. I see.
Oh, I see.
The Gauntlet launches February 13th, so we're talking in just a week here. The Gauntlet will be out.
One of the big things for
how wrong
us
I was
for season 3 was
because I would have been interested in doing the Gauntlet. If it had been at the start of the season, 100%, it would have been at least like.
But I feel like the hype is already dying down more and more the longer they wait.
The hype died in season 2.
And I also didn't understand really their explanation as to why they delay it, because they specifically call it a beta feature. And what better way to test a beta feature, to have a lot of people testing it and give feedback?
We plan to update the tower through multiple seasons, and your feedback will help shape its future.
How do you feel about the entire stuff? I only saw your picture. And a similar reaction to me, I guess.
I woke up today walking into this campfire feeling better than I do now. I feel worse now.
Yes. And this is the same for me. And I didn't even think that would have been a possibility, because I was actually excited to, learn about all the, solutions and problem fixing that they have gotten out of the PTR, because we provided so much feedback. And then I really like the beginning, cinematic that they played, but they just dropped it in the cinematic, towards the end of it, that the tower and the leader was not even launching. And I was like, they didn't say anything. They just said it's not launching. And then they talked for half an hour about other stuff. And I was like sitting there the entire time, like they just like dropped this and they didn't even explain. And it's like, then come on, please explain. So I kind of like didn't even have the capacity to listen to all of the stuff that they were saying in the middle, because I was like, what? Why are you delaying this? Like, why is it not coming out? Like, all of the players are like hyped at the beginning of the season. Like, you're gonna get the best feedback at the start of the season. And I mean, it's still like 2 weeks until Christmas, I guess, when the season launches. Like, I mean, there's quite some time. So, like, just click the button and release the beta feature.
Just click. I don't understand that either, because I logged into the PTR and I played the tower and it worked. Like, it was a tower. I killed monsters. The message popped up, like, and that was a month ago. So I had a month to work on it, and now it can't be released.
Like, if I imagine a Diablo 4 team, I imagine 100 monkeys in one small house, and there's a house fire, and all that they have to put out the house fire is gasoline.
If you release it in January, the people who are still playing Diablo 4, if you have a couple of weeks to play, especially over Christmas break, literally every single person is going to have super high Paragon, God tier gear, mythic uniques. Like, the whole exciting part for me, the really exciting part is like the same as D3 seasons, is who can erupt first and who can like blast through with nothing or with kind of weak stuff. Bro, everyone's going to have everything by the time you release the tower, and you're going to miss a huge chunk of the appropriate feedback about the whole progression of the tower. It's not even going to be a thing to be tested.
And it's also the perfect way to ensure that new players will not enjoy this feature at all, because they're just going to be completely filtered out, because all the sweats and triads, they're going to have like GG gear and like all the mythics and all the stuff. And it's completely unfair, because like, what's a casual player that might, return in January to try this leaderboard gonna do if people have just like fully stacked, fully masterworked, fully sanctified gear and mythics? Like, they're gonna have the worst experience ever. Just like they did with the Gauntlet. Like, they didn't have any chance, like, when the Gauntlet launched, because it's the same thing. Like, mid-season patch, Gauntlet launches. First of all, nobody really cared about it. And then of the few people that cared about it that are returning to the game, like, they just get filtered out and they have no chance ever reaching the top 100 even.
Why release the leaderboard a month after the season has been going?
Like, what's the point of like releasing leaderboards like at the end of season 3?
Exactly.
People are not even playing anymore.
Is there a point to me doing it?
The fact that you don't have the name.
Fucking holy shit. If Rob's up there, like, if Rob is up there being like, they're not even playing anymore, holy shit.
It's got another update, 3 times the charm. We have another official release date for the Gauntlet. Another official release date, yes.
They removed the date. This. Let's F5 this.
Coming soon, TM.
This was the second or third. I actually have lost count, and I still have lost count on how many times they moved this.
Dude, Frosty's stocks. Dude, if you can invest in stocks, you got to invest in Frosty LaRue right here, because that was... I can't believe that the tower... I can't believe that it isn't launching. Like, you know what? Honestly, I meant this when I was doing my little recap. I was really trying to not be negative at all today. I'm trying not to be the Grinch who stole Christmas. I'm trying not to be a piece of shit. I'm trying not to be a fair weather fan. But we're launching on top of POE2, and the tower isn't in the game. But, I mean, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Diablo 4, oh yeah, I swear I love it more than I can bear, but in the shadows I confess, path of exile is my true unrest.
God damn it, dude. Uh. Oh, share the video. Yes, of course. Duh. I figured everybody knows who Frosty is. Well, let me share it. If you guys want to like and comment and do all the nice stuff, let me pull it up here. Frosty LaRue. God, that was funny. Let's see here. Let's paste it. Okay, I think this is it. Here's this. Okay. All right. That was pretty funny. Turbo Peanut. Thank you so much for the subs, guys. T3 from Peanut. This guy's goated. What's up, man? It's amazing how red my face looks red in those videos. Like, people have asked me over like the last 7 years, like, Rax, why is your skin red? But my skin is like, it's actually not red. I don't know. I look like a tomato. It's kind of interesting. High blood pressure. Spell Totem requires endurance, 3 endurance, or 3 power, does less damage, casts less often, and lasts 8 seconds by default. So you take Savage Fury, you run around and you hit 20 enemies. The second you fight an elite, you activate it. It drains 3% of your maximum life per second. So maybe if you're CI, it doesn't even do anything. And then you do 21% more damage. You have 32% increased attack speed for 20 seconds. Frosty, we just watched your video, buddy. God, that was funny. Why can't you do CI? Your maximum life in CI is 1. Losing 3% of 1 per second, is that losing nothing? You can, but you need a regen. But if you lost 3% of 1, wouldn't it reduce it by 0 naturally? Why would you need regen? I really wish that I could make a planner of a druid build, man. I really wish. I wish we had the passage tree. I wish I could punch it into a planner, man. So I could probably make something really good for people to use if I could just do that. There's a thread on it. Is this POE1 though? This looks like a POE1 question though, right? Not necessarily the same, but yeah, I did notice that. I noticed that his first weapon was +2 to melee skills and seemed absolutely insane. But this aura says I don't know. I don't know if POE2 counts decimals or not, like over a period of time. Like I don't know if it counts you have 0.97 health. Doesn't seem like it would do that, but So let's see here. Let's see if we can figure this out. Let's see if we can figure this out here. So for free, you get Volcano, level 1. You get Lightning, what's it called? Lightning Blast. Does anybody remember the name of that skill? Lightning. Was that just inherent on the staff itself? Yeah, lightning bolt from the staff itself. Okay. And then also for free, you get either the bear and the werewolf auto attack. So then the level 1 gems are Volcano, does anybody remember the other ones? Entangle, Lunar Assault, and then Furious Slam. Well, there's no way you pick Volcano because you already have it. So you would never cut Volcano. And it's almost certainly between one of these two, right? So let's read Volcano. Channeling this skill for longer. So you could channel the skill to reach stage 4. But the channel only increases the eruption damage and doesn't affect subsequent projectiles. So channeling this seems useless. Does it have shipping to Bulgaria? It says worldwide shipping, Retro, so I would assume yes, it should be able to be shipped to Bulgaria. It says worldwide. They do have a page on shipping here. Here's the shipping policy. It says EU. So I would certainly imagine that Bulgaria is counted as EU, right? It says it delivers to US, Canada, United Kingdom, EU, Australia, New Zealand, MX. Is that Mexico? And Mexico? So where's South America, though? Where's Africa? You think the volcano is useless? We just watched it, Thomas, live on stream. It was very funny.
Lady Lesh gifted a tier 1 sub to Loop in the Wolf. They have given 7 gift subs in the channel.
Lady Leche just gifted another sub? Didn't she give one yesterday, too? Lady Leche is going straight to heaven. Lady, what's with all the gifted subs? Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you. She's going straight to heaven. Reaper, thank you for the prime. Did you win the lottery or something? Did you win the lottery, or did you get a big Christmas bonus, or did you inherit $1 million from Aunt Betty that passed away, or I was your most watched? You wish? It's coming soon. I can feel it. Karma comes full circle. So Hmm. Um. The thing about the bear... Let me see if I can pull up the old... So let's see here. What could we do for the first 2 points? What are our choices? We could either get 40 spirit for every empty charm. That does give us 80 spirit quickly. What would spirit do for us on our bear? Hard to say. We could go gain the benefits of additional bonded modifiers on runes and idols. That's probably only good later. Troy, thank you so much for the raid. What's up, buddy? The image is inaccurate. It is inaccurate, but it's all that we got, so it is inaccurate, yes. Rage grants spell damage. Doesn't seem to do anything for shape-shifting. It's just a huge buff to rage, but we'd have to do... So we get 4 rage, 8, 7 rage, 65 rage. This seems like this seems valuable for tankiness. I don't know, like this happens to me every time. You guys can let me know if I'm wrong. Whenever you guys like read an ascendancy like this, when you read an ascendancy, I am always like underwhelmed. Like, I don't know, even if you gave me every single one of these nodes, it's like hard to get super excited about it. Like, I don't know, ascendancies in PoE2 to me feels so mild compared to PoE1. The PoE1 ascendancy nodes are usually so effing strong. SBG, thank you so much for the Prime. Matharel, thank you for the 40 months. Reaper, thank you for the Prime. Thank you, guys. Is it just me, or isn't this node really, really good? Enemy crit hit chance against you is unlucky. Damage of enemies hitting you is unlucky. Isn't this pretty good? They have to, if you don't know what this means, unlucky means they roll twice and it takes the lower value against you. So if they do 1 to 100 damage and they roll and they hit 78 and then they roll again and then they hit 42, it hits you for 42.
Are you making a druid this league? If so, what ascendancy?
Am I going to make a druid this league? I'm going to make many druids. I'm going to be playing a shitload of druid. We're going to be Mr. Druid Man over here. Matika, your boyfriend doesn't believe you that I can imitate Peter Griffin. Peter Griffin is not even close to my best impersonation. I really only have 3 impersonations. I have Dr. Evil, I have Milton, and I have Borat. That's about it. And I guess to some degree, Hank Hill. I'll tell you who it was. It was that goddamn Sasquatch. Do Borat? Yes, you mash. And my name is Borat. I like you. I like sex. Is nice. And this is my home. Entry, please. He is my neighbor, Nursultan Tuliakbai. He is painting my assholes. I get the window from a glass. He must get the window from a glass. I get the step. He must have a step. I get a clock radio. He cannot afford. Is nice. When I purchased my wife, she was very nice, very strong and plow, good sexy time. But 2 years later, when she turned 15, she grew a very deep voice, a Borat. And now her vagine hang like sleeve of wizard. And 1 year later, she passed away. A high five. Yeah, I really don't. I'm honestly thinking Oracle might be better than... I don't know what here I'm supposed to get excited about. The rage generation. Yeah, the rage generation is probably the selling point. Do Ali G. I'm nowhere near as good at impersonating Ali G as I am Borat. Rage and spirit. How are we going to combine rage and spirit together? For spirit, I think of minions. And for rage, I think of like warriors. So how do we marry those ideas? Reactive growth and then do damage to yourself? That is a cool idea. The problem is that's like a defensive thing. It's hard to get excited about defense in an ascendancy. Spirit is auras, not just minions. True. You could have more auras with it. That's true. You still go back to the video every once in a while where I was laughing at D4 math to regenerate your life force. 1,000 times 40% is 1,040. It all makes so much sense now. Donkey, thanks to the Prime Man. Yeah, here's Crown of Eyes, where spell damage applies to attacks. Is this just like a random drop? Increases and reductions to spell damage also apply to attacks. When it says increases and reductions to spell damage, does that count all of them in the game? Anything like passive, ascendancy, temporary, additive increases, multiplicative increases? Is this absolutely everything? No, it doesn't work for more or less. It only works for increases spell damage. So how would this even work then? We stack rage. 2 rage gives 1% more spell damage. I don't get it. What is this? Is it supposed to be like a video or something? Do we have any clue? Do we have any clue what this tree is other than looking at the shitty one that we have already in game, which is completely wrong? I don't know. The more I look at this, the more I feel like I'm just gonna have to log in. I'm just going to have to log in and figure it out, because this entire tree is not even correct. We don't have the passives. We do kind of see some of the skills without the scaling of it. Like, I think we're just gonna have to figure it out. Make a D4 planner. I don't think we need a planner for D4. Anything that you do will work. We did see the new Frosty LaRue video. There is one thing I wanted to do in-game on the minion guy real quick. They might add spiritual aid, which makes the spell node more attractive. And what is spiritual aid? I think I'm just going to have to figure it out. Increases to minion damage also applies to you globally. So that's kind of like the that's kind of like what people do in Path of Exile 1, right? They go over to the minion node and then they click all the nodes that say increases and reductions to minion damage also apply to you, and they're leveling up. Car Deal, Donkey Wonky. Thank you so much for the subs, guys. God, these guys hit me hard. You're gonna be streaming POE2 from South Africa? Hell yeah, man. Question for you. I had a friend from South Africa. Do you guys have load shedding that shuts off your internet? Or do you have a way to keep your internet going the whole time? Because I thought South Africa had load shedding. Already killed this guy, by the way. Holy. Load shedding is thankfully over. Oh wow, I didn't know that. Why are you hearing double music? Are you guys hearing double music? In fact, wait, we don't have to do this, do we? What I want to do... I want to go to the Etched Ravine. So let's go there. I want to go to the Etched Ravine. That's where I want to go. What build is being piloted? What is this? This is a minion build. I actually have a guide for this build. This build I think is gonna completely murder next league. If you're looking for a build to stall, while everybody figures out the druid, while you're just twiddling your thumbs waiting for people to unlock its power, this has got to be one of the best builds you could possibly make. Like if you're a newer player, if you're like playing the free weekend of POE2 and you haven't played before, this build will rule for you. Look, it's the frozen mandibles that we can't specter anymore. Flubgun's poison build looks awesome. It does look awesome. It will be awesome. All of his builds are always great. Just remember the Flubgun tax. If you play a Flubgun build, all of the endgame uniques and gear for it will have a giga markup because a lot of people will just do whatever build he makes. So just be aware. If you go that build, be prepared to pay out the ass for anything for the endgame version of that build. It will happen. It happens every league. You're going with Connor's Incinerate Fireball Lich. Cool thing about that build will be that seems to be pretty different from Druid, and it seems to be different from Fubgun's builds, so that should be pretty cheap put together, hopefully. Connor and cheap usually don't go together. Well, he pushes all the builds to like multi-mirror power, right? Were there any nerfs to Punch Monk this patch? They nerfed the scaling of attack speed with dexterity, right? But they increased I think the base attack speed, so at the higher end it got nerfed. Ow. Take him down, boys. What are we doing here, guys? Kill him. Okay, they should all be dead. We do not need a great club. Do you guys think there's any universe where we're gonna get the passive tree tomorrow? Do you guys think that's a possibility? My game is not black and white. What is going on? I'm not sure I understand the question. It's 2025, buddy. Black and white hasn't been a thing. Did you just get uncryogenically frozen? Hasn't been black and white for a while, buddy. Can't even tell what's happening here. Can I just stand back here and hide from her? Holy! Can you guys please kill her so we can win? Minions? Alright, we're gonna have to do this, I guess. Where is the boss? That's the boss. Holy fuck, man. She was at 1% HP for 10 minutes. Okay, we need to burst her down before she fills the entire area with every spell that's ever been created in Path of Exile. My minions failed me so badly there. I just have no idea where is the boss. Like, where's the boss? I can't even see anything. Oh my god, dude. I've got no clue where she is. Let's just, I don't know, pray that we're hitting her. I don't know. Okay, she's right there. I see her. Yeah, I'm gonna try to switch these minions to the zealots. I think you get the zealots around here. We're gonna try them and see how good they are. Howling Caves.
Thank you for all the great content and helpful guides.
Little Zen, thank you, buddy. Thanks for the 43 months. What's up, Hylian?
Stoked for the new POE2 League.
God, I love that noise. Kalevra, did I say that right? Thank you so much for the 10 months, man. Appreciate you. Frink, thanks for the prime, man. God, that's funny. Can I? Okay, game. Work with me here. Oh, okay. I see. It's like, what? I clicked it 15 times. My inventory is full. I was like, this got to be something. Oh no, tornado bird. Well, the entire ground is fire. So I have no idea what's going on. Am I going minions on League start? No, I'm going Druid, 100%. We're going Druid, man. But I can't play Druid right now. But I do want to test something. I want to see how the Zealots perform relative to these shooty boys. Oh, let's go this way. Hey, here it is, guys. We got it. Can you imagine? Just, you know, walk forward and pick this up and... How fast can I get to maps? I don't know. I don't think I've ever one time actually speed ran the campaign. What's the world record? Like 4 hours flat? Well, certainly not in 4 hours. I don't know. I've never really tried. I could probably do pretty decent. Maybe, this is a random guess, maybe 6 hours? I don't know, maybe longer. Yeah, we saw, there's a video of the Druid playing in Act 1 that we watched earlier. What am I going to play for a starter build? I'm going to play Druid, and then I'm either going to play Werewolf or Bear. I almost certainly won't play Wyvern, but you can mix and match Werewolf and Bear. So I'm strongly debating using the Werewolf's movement ability and then using the Bear's damage. But I might also just use the Werewolf's damage. I'm not sure. I think it's the other way. Okay, here's where we want to be. Etravine. This is what we want. Here we are looking for... I need to go get a gem. We're looking for zealots. Holy. Okay, let's go. We are looking for a monster called Powered... It's right here. Powered Zealot. One of them costs 55, and the other one costs 50. It's the 55 one? Okay. Nice. You're not trolling, you're honestly curious. Am I gonna play D4 this league? I am. So do these guys also apply shock? Yeah, they are applying shock. I'm just letting them attack to see what they're doing here. It's like having your own little spark army. This is apparently going to be one of the best. This already is one of the best specters in the game without the ants from the Gazi and the minion community's research. I love how it applies. I love how it applies shock for you. That's great. Yeah, so the cold infusions are the things that you get from being a sorcerer, right? So somehow we would have to, yeah, I don't know, is there a way to give your cold infusions to the zealots? I don't know how to give my zealots cold infusion. Honestly, getting the infusions just on your normal spellcaster is... Batten, I'm doing good, buddy. I have outrageously bad gear here, by the way. So if you're looking at this and thinking, God, these specters blow, they don't. It's just I have extremely bad gear here. They're doing fine. I mean, this is the final act in the campaign, so. I'll tell you what, the visual clarity is way better with these powered zealots than with the ants or with the Valguards. When I made this character last league, I had 13,000 energy shield. We'll have to see how. I think they're gonna nerf energy shield this patch, but I mean, even if they nerf it to 10,000 energy shield, it's still insane, right? God, they killed all of my zealots? That's rude. Ow. Jesus. You're a sucker for caster types, but you hate the way that Grinding Gear Games does casters. Well, the thing about Grinding Gear Games is they really love two things. They love Generator Spender, and they love Kiss Curse. So Generator Spender is build Rage, and then you can do this thing. Get Power Charges, and then you can do this thing. Get Infusions and Remnants, and then you can do this thing. Get Mana, and then you can do this thing. It's Spender Generator over and 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 over. And then they do Kiss Curse. Here's 40% more damage, but you lose 5% of your attack speed. Or you're immune to chaos damage, but you only have 1 life. So it's constantly like I'm not necessarily saying like these mechanics are always bad, but what it turns into is there's a lot of things for you to solve to be able to play your build effectively, and then you're going to have to actually understand the mechanics of what you're doing to even diagnose whether this thing that you're doing is like good for you or bad for you. What's my lightning res? Wait, I have 65 lightning res. and the tip of his opening attack hit me for. I have 60. Assuming it does lightning damage, I had 2,000 effective HP, and his opening breath 100 owed me instantly for 2,000 damage in the campaign. Like, there's no way. Like, that can't be real, right? Like, there's no actual way that it does that level of damage. I was expecting to have like maybe it doesn't do lightning damage, maybe it does physical damage. Okay, now the lightning isn't doing anything to me.
It's JMac gifted a tier 1 sub to iPigman37. They have given 7 gift subs in the channel.
I have no idea what happened that first time. Doesn't even make any sense. You just 100 owed me instantly. J-Mac. Oh, thank you so much for the gifted sub to Piglet, man. Maybe it's a bug. I don't know. Maybe that opening attack he did made no sense at all. Like none. The first time. Okay, well, so the Zealots actually seem, believe it or not, they actually seem pretty good. Obviously, I'd need to actually give them plus skills to gear and actually, you know, take care of them to actually make them do damage, but that was actually fine. You know, me with my zero increased, I'm supposed to have like +3 or at least +2 by now. I had 0. Yeah, we really don't know what will be good and what won't be good. The only thing that I'm speculating, which again, this could also be wrong, but the only thing that I'm speculating is that I don't think the Wyvern is going to be good early on. Could be completely wrong, but if you're going to go Wyvern, the Dragon, I think you do it. I think you do it later. Okay, so let's think about what we have going on here. Let's see, like, what are we even doing here? So we have... Does anybody know what time the Game Awards starts on Thursday? So we have the Game Awards. 8:30 Eastern is when... Oh, 8:30 Eastern is when the Game Awards starts. Okay. 7:30 Eastern. Just do everything in Eastern. And Diablo 4 starts at 8:30 Pacific, right? 8:30 Pacific. 8:30 Pacific is 11:30 Eastern, is it not? Okay, and then Friday is POE2 and I believe that's 2 Eastern, right? Oh, man. So let's think about this. So if I get on 1 hour before this starts, if I start streaming at 6:30 Eastern, we watch the Game Awards together, aka the Expedition 33 Awards. So then it'd be 5 hours until D4 starts. And then the difference between D4 and the actual launch of POE2, the difference between them is what? It's actually longer than I thought. It's 14 and a half hours between, right? The Game Awards is only 2 hours long. Well, people are saying, I mean, let me just Google it. Yeah, 7:30 Eastern. So it starts at 7:30 Eastern, and Diablo 4 launches. Diablo 4 Season 11 start time. Yeah, so this is correct. And then Path of Exile 2. Is 2 p.m. Yeah, this is correct. This is all correct. This is all correct. So I'm going to stream for 5 hours. And then the question is how many hours should I stream into this 14 and a half? If I do all of it, then what that would mean is when POE2 launches, I will already have streamed for 19 and a half hours. And there's no way I can wake up at 6:30 Eastern. I'll probably wake up, even if I try to sleep in, I probably won't sleep in past 11. So that would mean another loss of about 6. So it would mean by the time POE2 starts, if I don't sleep, I will have been awake for about 25 and a half hours around. That would be the beginning of POE2. What I'm thinking about doing, there is a pretty easy solution that I could do. I could keep the stream going the whole time easily. What I could do is I could stream D4 for a while. Like a good while, get really powerful. And then just to get some sleep before POE2, my brother lives really close to me. My brother used to be a streamer. My brother used to write max roll guides. He could just play for a few hours while I sleep for a few hours, and then I just get back on and we blast the entire POE2. That would let me play more probably let me play more Diablo 4. Yeah, my brother has his own account, guys. It's okay. You know, it would be a crying shame. It'd be a crying shame if we cheated in Diablo 4 and cheated to get ahead on the leaderboards that don't exist. Man. If we got ahead on the leaderboards that aren't in the game, I'm pretty sure the police would be at my door in a flash. If there's a paladin, play it till the end game. I mean, yeah, it should be very, very easy to level, should it not? Rax, do you see what you've created? A bunch of bandwagon D4 haters? Do you think that I created the hate for D4? It was me? Rax, I can't believe you've done this. D4 was perfect until Rax came around. Yeah, I remember. I can remember a bunch of times I ruined D4 right from the beginning. I remember 1 year before any of you guys even sniffed Diablo 4. I remember in the alpha testing when there were like 4 alpha testers, 1 year before its beta weekend, writing Blizzard a 10-page paper saying the horse doesn't work, the overworld blocks everything that we do, we can't port to the nightmare dungeons, they're insanely imbalanced, there's no stash space, there's no loot filter, there's no SSF mode. This. I remember that. I remember in season 1 when they showed us the preview of it, how I said the malignant hearts rising and falling very slowly the whole season was going to ruin everything. And then it did. Yeah, I going through my mind, I can think of a lot of ways that I ruined the game over the years. Did I come up with the 17 damage meme? I'm the one who, like, it's my face, and I said the 17 damage thing. The reason why it exploded into a giant meme is because Asmongold saw it and pretty much had a heart attack laughing. With the alpha testing and the feedback that you and others gave, does that increase the frustration due to providing the feedback and it was ignored only to fix it after a substantial play outrage? Here's the, I guess the direct answer to your question is no. It doesn't make me more angry, but let me explain why. Like, it's just a different conversation, right? I'll show you in Paint. I'll show you the difference. Let's take EHG. Let's take Grinding Gear Games. Let's take Moon Studios. Hell, we can even take XD from Torchlight Infinite. And then let's take Diablo, or let's take Blizzard, right? All right. So if they ask me to test something and I provide feedback on something, EHG and Moon Studios are the same. I will literally talk to, like, from EHG, I'll talk to Judd or Carve or Boards, like the leaders up there. I'll be like, guys, I think this or that is bad, and it will get fixed like immediately. Same thing with Moon Studios. I'll talk to Thomas Mahler. Hopefully, I'm spelling his name right. Mahler. That might be wrong. I'll just talk directly to him. I'll be like, yo, dude, this thing in No Rest for the Wicked sucks. And they'll just fix it right away, right? So when you talk to Grinding Gear Games, I don't talk directly to them. Sometimes I talk to the community manager. But I made a video. You can just do it just by making content. You'll just see. They'll watch the content. Made a video saying that the Abyss crafting thing ruined my item because it didn't work. They fixed it in like 4 days or something. You make a video saying, hey, here's a bunch of things that I don't like on the end game, and then they fix like 50% of them by the next patch. You know what I mean? So Grinding Gear Games will just fix it. Very similar to XD. You don't talk to like the main guys at XD, but other than like the pay to win stuff, like they would listen to you about like stuff that's wrong with the game. Now, when you talk to Blizzard, here's the issue. Here's who I talk to. I talk to the community manager, like Adam, or I talk to the devs, right? The people actually making the game. And this is not the problem. Like, they get it. They get it like any of the other things. Any of the other ways that you, like, communicate with them. But the problem is Blizzard is this gigantic entity. Let's get a different color. This gigantic entity that is driven by, like, the execs and the marketing and how big Blizzard is, how, like, crazy, like, global they are, and da-da-da-da-da. So having a conversation with the people that you would think would probably be in charge of it does not usually translate into these kinds of immediate changes that the community needs. You can think of Blizzard like the Titanic. You could think of talking to Blizzard as being aboard them on the Titanic. And you can think of being aboard any of these companies as being on board with them in a canoe. Blizzard, we gotta turn this way. And Blizzard goes, okay. We're turning. No, we're dead. We're fucking dead, man. But these companies, they'll just turn. They'll just turn. I think, like, probably I don't know this for sure. I haven't, like, I don't know their, like, overall corporate structure, but Microsoft purchased Blizzard. I think, like, one of the best things that Microsoft could do with their, you know, new $70 billion asset is they need to reimagine their structure. Like, they have such an inability to pivot to something else. And in this day and age, that's so valuable. But you could make the argument they don't need to change anything because Blizzard is really, really, really good at making money. Really good at making money, which is, you could argue, the entire point. Is the point to make great games or is the point to make money? Blizzard's easily the best at making the money out of anybody on this list. So, do they need to change anything? Maybe not. So your original question was, am I mad that I gave this feedback and it didn't translate into turning the boat? No. Because me giving the devs feedback is not what turns the Titanic. You are a senior product manager at a software company. You handle feedback. And you were curious on the thoughts on how they handled the feedback. Again, the people that I talk to, I feel like are really not the problem. People sit around and they insult the You see the developers and you see the community manager on the campfire. That's the only person you ever see or hear talk. So when you hate the game and you see them, you insult them. You insult the people that you see. You know? I remember I used to work as a processor at an insurance company. So there's like maybe 300 processors making all the changes. And there are, whatever, 20 managers that manage those 300 processors, something like that. Whenever they had a meeting about how they would change our job, the big executives would come to our processing center and they would have meetings with all of the managers. And they would ask the managers of the 300 processors, how should we change things? The problem is the managers, even though they thought that they knew what we did, they didn't. They don't sit down and process. They don't know what our job actually is. And a lot of the changes that they implemented for us just made our lives way worse. When they were saying, no, we think it will help you. Bro, we're the ones in the slave quarry breaking the rocks with the mining picks. Like, you guys are not going to tell us how we're going to mine rocks better than we can. They actually changed it after a few years and a couple failed initiatives. They instead made a committee of like 20 of the processors that they thought were the best. And then they started asking those people that kind of represented the processors instead of the managers. And wouldn't you know it, for years and years and years, they stopped making stupid decisions that made our lives worse. One of the new AVPs that got hired, they implemented something called coffee talks. And what they would do is they're like really, really high ranking in the company. They're like senior vice president in the company. And they implemented a thing called coffee talks. And the senior vice president would travel around. Like, we have so many different buildings in so many different cities. We have processing centers, call centers, agency centers, like everywhere. We have corporate buildings. What they would do is they would fly to the different areas, and then they would never, ever pick managers. They would pick all of the workers, the processors, the claims reps, the insurance agents, everything. And they'd make it a small group. Maybe like 5 of these people, just it seemed to be chosen randomly. And then they would go into a private little enclave and they'd order a coffee and pizza or whatever. And the senior vice president would sit there and I went to one of these and he goes, all right, let me tell you why we're having this. You can consider this just a gigantic bitch fest. I want you to complain about everything about your job. I don't want you to use corporate language, like obviously don't be racist or sexist. You can curse, everything like that. I want to know, what is it really like to do your job? Like, I want you to talk to me like I'm your buddy at lunch and like how you really feel. Everything here is completely confidential and will not be shared like with your manager or anything. And if you hate your manager, you can tell me that as well. They said, that's it. There's no agenda. I got a notepad and a pen. Go ahead. Let it rip. What do you got? And these conversations were actually very effective at like uncovering problems across the entire company. It was actually a really good idea. It was pretty good. It was pretty effective, actually. That's where they fire those people after they complain, I guess. No, that's called that's something in corporate HR called retaliation. Retaliation, depending upon It's defined differently at every company, but that's called retaliation. You can't do that. So, like, I'll give you an example. There was a girl who accused me of like cheating the production system, like inflating my numbers or whatever, and she reported it to my manager, and it was required that it would be escalated without me knowing into a full-blown investigation. And then I was brought in for questioning about this investigation. When I was brought into it, it's the only time ever in 10 years I was ever in trouble. I came into the meeting, and it was my manager and a bunch of like big higher ups in HR. And I sat down, and they're like, "All right, Ryan, do you have any idea why we called you in here?" I go, "No, I actually have no idea. What's up?" And they go, "Well, there's been an accusation against you that you have done this or that or this or that." And I just leaned back in my chair. I go, "Oh, yep. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly who did it too. It was so-and-so, right?" And my manager just kind of looked over at the HR people, and they said, "Ryan, we're not going to release any names, but someone has accused you of this, and we've done an investigation on you, and before we tell you our verdict here, we wanted to hear your side of the story." I go, "Oh, yeah. Well, I know it was this person, first of all. You don't have to hide it from me. She hates me, and she's one of the worst processors that we have. But this is what happened. Here's what happened, A, B, C, D. You can ask 10 other people that were in this situation. They'll all back me up, except for the one girl who's her best friend. She'll lie and defend it for her. But all the other 8 neutral people, they'll all side with me. I guarantee you. And I completely refute all of your claims. I'm 100% sure in all of your research you found nothing. It's all a complete lie." And then they were like, the HR people were not having this. They were like, "Your attitude is very sour, da 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 da." I literally told them, I go, "Guys, I don't need this job. I'm like your best processor, man. Like, I'm your best guy. If you want to get rid of me, like, I'm almost done with my math major. I'll go get a way better job anyway. I'm gonna get a way better job in a few months anyway, especially with clown shit like this. So tell me the results of your investigation, or if you want, just fire me. I'll walk out. I'll get a better job anyway." And they were like, they were just so, they just really didn't like me, and my manager felt so uncomfortable because I knew my manager liked me, but in that meeting she had to pretend like she was taking it very seriously as a manager. I completely understood what happened, what was going on. And they go, we found the claims against you to be false, but you need to watch yourself and make sure that this kind of interpretation doesn't happen." I go, "No, I don't need to do anything. You just told me I'm innocent. I didn't do anything wrong. You need to be disciplining the other girl." I walked out of the room, and my manager grabbed me. She goes, Ryan, can I talk to you for a second?" And I go, "Yeah, what's up?" And she goes, "Do you know what retaliation is?" And I go, "No." She goes, "Okay. I am not confirming or denying what you said in there was right about who went after you, but I know you. And I know what you're about to go do. You're about to go laugh at the person that you think tried to bury you, and it's called retaliation. If you do that, you will be instantly fired, even though you won. You're not guilty, right? It's an HR policy. You will be fired for retaliation." So she's saying, "I'm telling you, as your friend and as your manager, you were cleared. Just go back to your desk. Go back to your desk. I do not want to see you fired for retaliation." So I went back to my desk, and I thought about just going to talk to her anyway, because I was serious. I didn't care about the job anymore. I was very okay with getting fired because I was going to get a better job anyway. But I didn't. So no, like, if someone's like with the HR thing, if they set up a meeting and they say it's like a safe area, and then they like go out and then they tell everyone that you said these things, if you pass the stuff around, it can fall under retaliation. And so my manager had to wait until we were out of the meeting with the HR people to pull me aside and say, hey, listen, like I knew she was on my side, but I knew it even in the meeting when she was pretending to not be on my side. I know that she's just defending her job. I get it. Did the girl get reprimanded for lying though? Well, she technically didn't. She didn't lie. Well, she didn't really lie. We both had the same story, but her version of how the story went was I was being an evil piece of shit. And my story was, no, I was doing exactly what I should have been doing. And then they researched it and they agreed with me. So she didn't necessarily lie about something that I did, but her spin on it was I should be fired because of how I did it. Facts are better than feelings. I completely agree. With one of my previous girlfriends, this is actually one of the biggest fights we ever had. We were at a restaurant and we ordered our food, and things didn't go that well with the food. Like, they got our order wrong. They didn't make our food right, and we didn't complain. It's whatever. We were nice to them. We gave them a tip and we left, right? We didn't complain. We didn't send the food back or anything. And I was in the car with her and I was like, I'm really looking forward to the day where people don't take your order. I'm really looking for, like, pretty soon there's going to be like robots and AI that'll just take your order, and then they're never going to get it wrong. They're going to be bad in the beginning, but eventually they'll have like perfect accuracy. They'll probably cook your food too. They'll probably make you just a perfect hamburger that they literally won't be able to make a mistake. And she was so angry at me that I said that. She was so angry about losing feelings and people matter and and this is the most horrible thing that could happen. And I looked at her and I said, Stacy, the truth doesn't care about your feelings. The facts don't care about your feelings. We had a disastrous lunch today because of humans. I'm sorry. Robots could do it way better. It's just the truth. Sorry. What's my opinion on waiters taking your order without writing it down? So I use empirical evidence for that, Frosty. You know what my experience has been, and you guys can tell me if you have seen something different. You want to know what my experience has been in my life with waiters that don't write it down? They have the same accuracy, if not better accuracy, than the people that do write it down. Do you guys get more accurate food from the waiters who write it down? I mean, I don't think it's a good idea to not write it down, but in my life, I haven't noticed the waiters that don't write it down mess up more often. That doesn't seem to happen. It gives me something to focus my rage on when it's wrong. My PC just like driver reset, doing nothing. You're just sitting here doing nothing. What happened? No signal. What the hell? We just had paint up. Oh, we're back, boys. That was weird. I don't have very many good qualities, like actually very, very few. One quality that I feel that I do have, which is at a minimum above average, is I feel like I have a very, very good memory. I remember things. So I think if any waiter could sit around and memorize an order quickly, I think that I would be able to do it. I've never been a waiter before. I could do it without a paper or writing it down. I would never do that though. And the reason why I would never do it has nothing to do with my memory of the order. It's if you order, I want a nacho with no lettuce, with extra beans and no olives and a side of this and a cherry Coke with no ice, da 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 da. I would write it down for the cooks. I'll remember, but I don't trust anybody else. I don't trust other people to remember. So I would write it down anyway, and I would be very clear on anything that's abnormal, because I remember one time I went through a McDonald's drive-thru with my friend, and my friend hates cheese. He hates it. So we ordered 2 double hamburgers, and they gave him 2 McDoubles. This happens all the time. So we park and we walk in, and I remember we handed the two McDoubles to him. We said we wanted these to be double hamburgers. You can see it on the receipt. And the manager says, yes, this happens all the time, because anybody who ever orders it without cheese, our employees they make 1,000 McDoubles a day with the cheese. Then the one that comes through that says double hamburger, it like usually always throws them off. We'll remake your food for you, no problem. So I remember this. I still remember to this day. I was sitting there thinking about, like, well, what he said makes perfect sense. You're a human being. You get the order. You get 1,000 McDoubles. You get another order. You add cheese to it automatically. It's McDonald's. It's not a restaurant. What he says makes perfect sense. I'm not mad about anything that he said. But I was sitting there thinking, like, how unacceptable that is, though. He seems resigned to the fact that anytime someone makes a custom order, it's just not going to get done because they're used to doing it one way. We either need to not allow us to custom order it, or you've got to fix it. What's the fix here? I understand what you said, and I'm not mad, but it sounds like you're just going to make us 2 more double hamburgers, and the next time we come back, we're going to mess it up again because you did 1,000 double cheeseburgers before then. It's kind of like that. That's why I would write it down, because if you don't write it down and underline the thing that's different, stars, draw a happy face around it, then the cooks who make it 1,000 times will just make it again normally, and it'll be wrong. Most restaurants, the servers enter it into a computer. Okay. I've worked at 2 restaurants. Neither of them did that. They just used the actual slips. So I guess the waiters were either required to write it down or write it down right after. That makes sense. Yeah, punch it into a screen makes sense. But the 2 restaurants that I worked at as a kid, neither of them had that. In Japan, you order on an iPad. Is that true? Like, all Japanese places order on an iPad? Did computers exist when I was a kid? Excuse me, sir. I was the Brickles and the Number Munchers champion in my elementary school. You guys ever play Number Munchers or Brickles? And Oregon Trail, by the way. Terry? That's a girl's name. You have died of dysentery. I was a phenom on the typewriter. I never touched a typewriter once in my life. We had keyboards. What's the verdict on Druid shapeshifting? Well, I guess let's write down some things. So let's write down some things that we observed here. So the first thing that I'm wondering, I don't know, but I'm wondering is how much damage is Volcano actually doing? I'm not really convinced at all that scaling Volcano is worth it. Maybe it is. But after reading the tooltip and watching it, I'm not sure how much. I think it's probably worth it to use it, but is it worth it to scale it? I'm unconvinced, but maybe it is really good. So then we go to the bear stuff. The bear slams. At least early game, they seem very strong. I'm not just talking about because he had a godly weapon. The whole synergy of it, of getting extra volcano shots and getting the jagged ground and using so it's the volcano, it's the jagged ground, it's the it's just the raw power of the attack. A way to dump the rage mechanic. It seems very, very good. It seems very viable. Yeah, I'm only talking about early game. I'm not talking about scaling Volcano into the end game. Yeah, end game, all bets are off. We have no idea, right? The wolf. Wolf seems to have godly mobility, but it doesn't seem tied to the wolf. But it's not tied to the wolf. You can just dash on a wolf and then slam as a bear in the next moment. So then we look at their attacks and we get the minions. We get freeze. We seem to get really fast attacks. Which this stuff is good. Seems to be good. Astrion loves me. Hell yeah. Chicacity. Did I say that right? Thank you so much for the prime. Amarith. Thank you for the prime. So, Wolf seems good. The Wyvern. I have a strong feeling that the Wyvern might be really good at bosses with stacking the Ignite. It seems clunky early game. But can we stack Ignites on the boss? and just murder them in 2 seconds later on. Yeah, we also have the explosions. What did I make of the wolf pack AI? I'll be honest, I wasn't looking too strongly at it. So, what you could do is you could really become like the master of shapeshifter here. So you start in wolf form and use it to jump around to big packs, da 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 da. Whenever you reach an actual pack, you drop a volcano and start slamming the ground to murder them all. And then maybe later, when you get to a boss, you just use the Wyvern's Dragon Breath attack and just start stacking knights. Tick, 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 tick. And just burn them to the ground. And you might just be constantly shape-shifting as you play. Might be like the best way to play it. I think no matter what, you move with the wolf. You move with the wolf. And then when you land, what do you attack with? If you're actually really strong, I think the stronger you are, the further the ice explosions will fall off because there's a delay. You can full commit to one form or not. You can do whatever it is that you want. The skills are attached to a form, but you can press them interchangeably. You can press the wolf dash, and then you can slam as a bear right after it, right? Can't you just press them interchangeably and they just... So even though, like, you can't do the wolf dash as a bear, but you can dash as a wolf and then slam as a bear. Oh, I don't think you have to do that, Susamon. If you put... I don't think you have to do that. If you have to do that, that would completely ruin the class. You don't have to open your inventory, click bear, and then smash, and then open your inventory, click werewolf to dash, right? I don't think you have to. Yeah, the inventory selection only picks the basic attack. I think the clicking what form you used is what basic attack you get, and it might also be which form you are if you're not pressing anything. Yeah, so the way you think about it is you have a talisman equipped. With a talisman equipped, you just have all the shape-shifting skills at your arsenal. If you use jumpy attack, you'll be a wolf. If you use slam boy, you'll be a bear. They don't ship to South Africa. I saw that. They said they shipped worldwide, but then they said I didn't see South America or Africa over there, which is too bad. Are axes in the game? There's tons of weapon types, man, that they don't have in the game yet. People keep crying for swords and stuff. Okay, this has been a very short stream, but we didn't get patch notes. I'll probably hang it up here, guys. Tomorrow, I will probably start late. I'll probably start my stream later than even now. But tomorrow we will do an Omega Blast. Tomorrow starts we'll watch the Game Awards. We'll play Diablo 4. Probably going to get Paladin unless we get screwed. And then we're going to play the POE2 launch and blast Druid. So it should be really good. Yeah, I would like to congratulate Expedition 33 for sweeping everything. What Expedition 33 is going to do to all the video games tomorrow can be described as no less as the dicking of the century. They should go 12 for 12, and whatever they're nominated in, they're probably going to win, so. I think they were nominated for 12 awards. I think they're going to go 12 for 12. Let's throw a raid over to Gazzy, see what he's up to. Okay, tomorrow we go, guys. Hopefully get a patch notes tomorrow, but I'm not holding my breath. Thanks for being here, guys. Tomorrow is the Giga Blast. I'm excited. We need the patch notes for POE2, not D4. POE2. Good night, guys.